Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. We're going to dive into a brand video. This is kind of something I've never done this before on my channel, but we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into a brand because there's been a lot of talk about this brand on the internet. And if you haven't already guessed from the title of this video, we are going to do a deep dive in the rise and fall of Morphe. Morphe brushes, Morphe cosmetics, FORMA Brands. So if you guys like unfiltered makeup opinions and honest reviews, subscribe and let's get into this video. So we're doing a rise and fall of Morphe brands. You know, I did do kind of a video about Makeup Geek clothing, so this is kind of in the same genre as that, but this is more of a brand deep dive to give you a little bit of the information and background on this brand, and then going into like what could have been done differently if, you know, so they weren't having these financial problems. Originally, the brand was started in 2008 by Linda and Chris. They are a brother and a sister. They had absolutely no background in makeup whatsoever. And Linda was in education. Her brother, Chris, was in automotive. I guess he was an automotive salesman. And through my research, it seems that Linda had the opinion that beauty was not affordable from these prestige brands, and she wanted to bring a brand to the market that was prestige feeling with a better price point so that people could afford it. And that was like the driving factor behind founding Morphe and Morphe brushes. From their website, it does say Morphe was born in 2008 among the artists and influencers of Los Angeles. Finally, a beauty brand created for creators, the dreamers, for those looking for killer makeup without killing their wallet. A place where our Morphe babe can let their passion and creativity for beauty fly high. We're more than just a brand, we're a ride or die fam. At Morphe, there are no rules, stereotypes, not interested. We are real all the way, dare to create. Push those boundaries, make an impact, show the world your true, vivid, exploding color. You do you, and no one else. Blend the rules, Morphe babe. So that is a direct quote from their About section on their website, which now Morphe as a brand has worked with very many influencers since 2008, and they kind of branded the term influencer along with Makeup Geek. They were the two brands that like brought about the whole influencer revelation that, you know, somebody could be sent makeup product, they could review it on the internet, and they could make a living off of doing makeup reviews. And that's where Morphe really took off, was they would market to the influencers, they would send them PR packages, and then in turn those influencers would talk about Morphe on the internet, and they blew up that way. Influencers that they have worked with, and here are some that they say that they are still working with. So current influencers that they say they still work with, these are their Morphe babes. You have Jaclyn Hill, and they said Danessa Myricks, Ashley Strong, Raquel McKenzie, and Madison Beer. In the past, they have worked with Nikita Dragon, Manny MUA, Laura Lee Los Angeles, Kathleen Lights, Jeffree Star, and James Charles. Now, among these influencers, some of them do come with their fair share of controversy, and we'll get into that in a minute. So Morphe, like I said, Morphe really was one of the first brands to utilize influencers to promote their brand. And it was during a time of influencer marketing, early 2010s, when it was really taking off, like 2010 to 2012, when influencer marketing really became like the it way to market a product, to market your brand. And because this was so new and they were breaking into this, they really became like the forerunner and the forerunner brand for influencers. During this time of like influencer marketing, it being so new, they had many influencers who were under the commission of Morphe. However, they weren't required to disclose it at the time because the FTC did not have any kind of regulation, any kind of rule. Now you do, if something is affiliated, if it's sponsored, you have to disclaim that somewhere, either in your video or your description box or both. So the FTC at that time did not have any kind of regulation on these kinds of like sponsored or affiliated or commissioned videos. So many people did not know that these influencers who were pushing Morphe were actually getting a commission off of it. They thought it was a honest review. They thought that, you know, it was these influencers coming to them with this new product that Morphe had sent them, and they were being honest and open about the review and recommending Morphe as a product. Now, Here for the Tea, which is a channel here on YouTube, they exposed the whole affiliate marketing commission angle that Morphe was playing, and many of the Morphe consumers felt lied to at that point in time because these influencers were receiving a quick payout for all of the sales in referring this product. They were getting a payout for it, and many felt very betrayed because they weren't disclosed that, you know, this may be a sponsored video, it may be affiliated where I get a commission. Like, it was not disclosed to these consumers, and they felt very betrayed by some of these content creators who were constantly pushing Morphe. So in 2016, moving forward, this is about 6 years ago, actually 7 because we're in 2023 now, about 7 years ago, which is hard to believe, it was rumored that Morphe was doing private labeling. And private labeling is where there is one large brand that has resources to create something. Then you can purchase the product and slap your label on it. So they were rumored to be private labeling Crown Brush product. So they would buy a batch of, like, Crown Brush would do a huge batch of their product, and then they would sell a portion of it, and Morphe would just buy it and put their label on it. That's what private labeling is, and that's what Morphe was accused of. It was never ever really confirmed whether or not Morphe was actually doing private labeling or not, but that was one thing that Morphe was being called out for, is that they were supposedly private labeling. Crown Brush had a palette that was really, really similar to Morphe, and they had the Crown Brush label on it, and then you have the 35 palettes from Morphe that they were selling at like 2-3 times that price. So that's something that they were kind of caught in the drama with that private labeling. It was never proven, so we really don't know if that's true or not, but it's something that really tarnished the reputation further of Morphe, along with these influencers who weren't disclosing that, you know, they were getting a payout, were these really honest reviews on Morphe products, and then they get hit with private labeling and being judged by that. Then Morphe started opening brick and mortar physical stores, and these stores, they sold the Morphe brand, and they were also selling different brands in a Morphe store. And when you come to think of it, it's almost like a Beauty Bay. Beauty Bay sells Beauty Bay, their brand, but then they also have other brands that they sell as well. So Morphe, they do sell on their website now other brands besides the Morphe brand. So I was looking at their website, and currently it looks like they are selling Nabla, P. Louise, Beauty Bakery, Suva Beauty, some Danessa Myricks products, Dragon Beauty, Grand Cosmetics, Iconic London, and House of Lashes. Now, those were just a few of the brands that I did see available on the Morphe site right now. So they are still selling Morphe, but then they're also selling some other brands as well. So they're trying to sell like a Beauty Bay, where they have their own in-house brand, and then they have other brands that they sell as well. Coming into 2017, there was Jaclyn Hill, who had done her original collaboration. It was the 35 pan palette, and it was just like a beautiful, all-encompassing color story. And she worked with Morphe again in about 2017 to 2018, and she did the Vault collection. And with that came a lot of drama, a lot of controversy. When it was sent out to influencers, it was a horrible formula. There was a lot of negative connotation with the Vault, so Morphe completely pulled back. They said they had to reformulate, and they apparently did. And then they sent the vault out again. And there was a lot of controversy around that because some people, when they received their vault or they bought their vault, it was the original packaging from the original vault collection with a new label slapped across it on the back with the ingredients and all of the ingredients on the back of it. And many were really curious if they had really done anything to the formula or if they had just slapped a new label on it to make it look like they had done something to the formula. And that was a huge controversy. The whole vault collection was a complete disaster. It did not go over well in the beauty space at all. And many people had a lot of trouble trusting not only Morphe, but Jaclyn Hill as well. Now, with this disaster, then came about in about 2018 to 2019. I'm a little bit fuzzy on the dates, but I believe it was like 2018 when they did their collaboration with James Charles. This really launched him even more. And also his relationship with Tati Westbrook, that really launched his YouTube career as well. And he was literally, I want to say, a teenager to a very young adult when he had this collaboration with Morphe. Fast forward a couple of years into 2020, FORMA Brands is formed, and underneath that is a whole bunch of other brands that they start to form. FORMA. No pun intended there, but FORMA Brands, Morphe was encompassed in FORMA Brands because FORMA Brands was founded and then Morphe fell under that. So it became more of a brand incubator like C Beauty, who owns ColourPop. Now FORMA, they include brands like Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics, Morphe, Morphe 2, Bad Habits, and it was rumored at one point that they may have been involved somehow in Jeffree Star and also in REM Beauty, but those were just rumors. It wasn't actually ever confirmed whether or not they were involved with REM or Jeffree Star Cosmetics. That's what happened about 3 years ago when FORMA Brands was formed. Now, during all of that time when FORMA Brands was formed, there was drama, a whole bunch of things going on with a lot of the creators that Morphe affiliated themselves with, that Morphe had partnered with. Now, this is, I want to say, from 2018 to about 2021. A lot of it had involved Jeffree Star, Jaclyn Hill, and James Charles. Now, Jeffree Star has a lot of drama in and of itself. He's very dramatic, and at some point, Morphe did disassociate with Jeffree Star completely. They pulled his they didn't affiliate with him anymore. Now, the whole issue with James Charles and his controversy, while his whole controversy was going on, they were still promoting the James Charles palette. Then they also did a mini palette that was literally a smaller version of his palette, and it was literally the exact same palette but just in a smaller compact size, same shades and everything. And this was all while James Charles was going through his own controversy and Morphe was associated with him as an influencer. There's a lot to get through in my notes, but we're almost there. So more allegations surfaced about James Charles and some of the things that he was doing behind the scenes. And apparently they disassociated themselves with James Charles at some point. And it did take several years for that disassociation to take place. Now, on the other spectrum of things, the quality of the Morphe shadows changed a lot. And while a lot of companies will reformulate, they'll make a better product, they'll just do more to their product to constantly enhance it and make it better. There was actually a negative connotation with the reformulation of Morphe and the eyeshadows. So there were several videos floating all over the internet about Jaclyn Hill's original 35 pan eyeshadow palette and how the formula had changed from the original formula that was with the original release and the original launch, as opposed to newer palettes that were still being made under the Jaclyn Hill palette. Now, there were a whole bunch of influencers here on the platform that were looking at the old palette versus the new palette. It was constantly reiterated by Jaclyn herself that she had her very own formula that she had created with Morphe, and it was only being used with her palette. And a lot of influencers were comparing the ingredients from the original palette to the newer runs of the Jaclyn Hill palette. The problem with this is that the entire time, not only was Jaclyn Hill vocal about these changes that were taking place with her palette, but so was Morphe. And it was found by some influencers that some of the ingredients had changed in their palettes. And Morphe was constantly either a no comment situation, or it was our formula is still the same. So that was a very controversial time for Morphe as well. They had gone through so much controversy from 2008 to around this 2020, 2021 time frame that their reputation has really just taken hit after hit after hit after hit. We're getting up to 2022, and it was literally in the fall of 2022, so like I believe it was October, November time, that it was published that Morphe was, FORMA Brands actually, the one who actually owns Morphe now, was filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And when you file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, it can go a couple of different ways depending on how it's filed. Now with Chapter 11, you can either completely file Chapter 11 and the whole company closes, or a certain way that you file Chapter 11 is where you restructure the company. And a part of filing for Chapter 11, and this is according to FORMA Brands noted that the pandemic and scandals with influencers led to losing business, which is very true. Now, fast forward to December, so I'm going to say not even a month ago, to current time, so end of 2022, beginning of 2023, it was rumored that some of their US stores were going to be closing as a result of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And there were many employees who became very vocal about the situation, especially here in the United States. And there were managers who were videoing walking into their store. They had not received replenishment of products. They had also not received any news as to whether or not the store was officially closing. While it was kind of like on the back of their mind, they didn't know what the store held. They didn't know what was going on with the store, whether if it was going to stay open, if it was relocating, if it was going to get smaller. Morphe gave no clear direction to any of the retail stores in the United States as to whether or not they would be closing or not. Morphe officially shared on their social media that they are closing all of their United States stores, the physical stores of Morphe. They will continue to have Morphe at retailers like Ulta Beauty, Target if it is affiliated with Ulta Beauty in some way, and then also at some other retailers that are known for selling Morphe. But the actual brick and mortar stores of Morphe are closed. All of them in the United States are officially closed now. So that's everything up to this point about Morphe. Everything kind of like in a nutshell to tell you about what's been going on with this brand since it was formed in 2008. It's a lot. What could this brand have done differently? Looking back at the entire history of Morphe, I was introduced to Morphe back in 2017. They had just released the Jaclyn Hill palette, and they had just released the 35F Falling for Fall or something palette. That was one of the first Morphe palettes that I had ever purchased from the brand. And with that came more of a deep dive into the beauty community in general, and I just began to fall in love with makeup, and that's how I started on YouTube as well. I pulled back from Morphe because of the quality of the shadows. I had found way better product for a more affordable price than what Morphe was offering, and I was just venturing into new and different brands. And I started to disassociate myself with Morphe as a brand when the controversy of Jaclyn Hill went down, when the controversy of James Charles went down, and the drama of Jeffree Star. And this, I want to say, would be 2019. That was the last time that I used an actual Morphe palette on my channel. I haven't used a Morphe palette since then, and I've kept my eye on the brand, but I have not supported the brand since then because of all the controversy that has followed since that time frame. I've watched so many videos and seen so many others who are like, Morphe is like the shadiest brand in the industry. And when you go back and look at all the things that they have done, it has been very shady and not forthcoming at all. Controversy behind the Jaclyn Hill Vault palette when it was released, whether or not they had just repackaged it and just sent out the same product again. And then coming into the era of James Charles and everything going on with that, that really, I think, was the biggest hit to Morphe, was the controversy behind Jeffree Star and James Charles, and they never disassociated with them immediately. Like, you see other brands out there who have brand deals with influencers, and all of a sudden that influencer is canceled, or they're caught in controversy, or it's proven that they're doing things that are not legal, and the brand immediately cuts ties with them. They issue a press release like, we are no longer affiliated with this person. And I really feel like the thing that really tarnished Morphe as a brand was the fact that they did not do that with some of these creators. Yes, drama is gonna happen. Being associated with, you know, those drama people, that does hurt a brand. When you have an influencer who has a lot of controversy, that's where it really hits the brand and it really damages the reputation of a brand. So that is where I feel Morphe misstepped, is that when certain things were going on with these people that they were tied to, they did not disassociate themselves immediately with these people. They kept going, they kept making these collabs, they kept promoting them as a creator. And then when it got to the point where things were proven or where it was just too much, that's when they disassociated with these people. But it wasn't until it was past the breaking point that Morphe did so. And along with that also has to do with a lot of the dishonesty behind the brand. They've never confirmed or denied certain things, like with private labeling or with the ingredients in their eyeshadows. Or even from the very get-go, when they had influencers who were being paid to promote the brand, did they really get an honest review? It gives you the impression that they were being shady. There you have it, a rise and fall of Morphe, the brand, from start to where they are today, some of the things that have contributed to the downfall of Morphe and what they could have done differently. I hope I get to see you in my next video. Bye.